Yeah, these are two teams that I have been very impressed with. I think Heroic, we've seen what they did last stage, went to the major, did not live up to the expectations, really struggled. Then I think the question for Heroic was, how do you bounce back from that? And I think they've done that. They've continued that steady trend of having that domestic success. Wolves, I think for a long time, and I'm sure people agree with this, for about 2 years, were just a team that was just in this league. They were there. They weren't really challenging for top 4. They were just a group of players who were playing in the league. Look what's happened to them. Look at who they've brought in. Look at Mowgli, look at the impact that he has had immediately. They've managed to do back-to-back major qualifications as well. You have to keep that in mind. They were at Sweden. They went into Charlotte. They're starting to pick up a bit of international experience also. And just like Heroic, they've continued that domestic success.
You mentioned Mowgli there, a player that we're, of course, familiar with. We got to cast him during the Challenger League and saw just exactly what the potential was of that player, and obviously got picked up by Wolves. Going to Oregon then was a fairly tricky map ban as well. I think it was touched on the desk. Fabian there mentioning that he reckons that Heroic is going to be a little bit more favoured into sort of their play style. And, when you think about the way that Wolves like to approach things with that aggression, with that entry that they find so important in the hands of Mowgli, and there's not always that option on Oregon, so you have got to temper yourself somewhat.
Oregon is a great map just for anyone to play. Everyone, doesn't matter what level of competition you're at, we always see Oregon. Everybody should be aware of Oregon, so there's going to be nothing, in my opinion, that is going to surprise any of these teams here today. It is a great equalizer between both of these sides. It's just going to be who's the better team. And it doesn't come down to strategies per se. It just comes down to basic fundamentals, drone work, refragging capabilities, knowing when to make a play, knowing when not to make a play. All these elements that are just, basic mechanics. This is what it's going to come down to.
There's a ban that has slipped in there, Demo. It's a Finker ban.
Yep.
You're very fond of a Finker ban. It, of course, forces out either an Iana or a Nook. In this case, it is going to be the Iana that is most likely forced out from that. Valkyrie coming in as Heroic's defender ban, and a Mav Cade as well. So things looking a little bit pressured toward those hatches. You're going to be looking toward Hibana to get a lot of that brunt work done. For the meantime, Benja just getting himself out of what could potentially be a little bit of hot water there up inside of T3. We got Gorgona looking to make a bit of a peek out there as well. Knows there's likely going to be somebody up inside of that tower. Just trying to keep control of that for as long as possible.
It's quite surprising to see Wolves ban the Maverick alongside the Kite also, whereas generally you can just ban the Kite and Maverick doesn't really have that much of an impact. But maybe Wolves are thinking, Heroic are actually quite good at going for Attic whenever you rotate towards Heroic's attacks, whenever they're trying to attack in towards Kid Bedroom. Maverick is great for the Attic side push that we know of. Like you've mentioned about the Finka ban, that's going to be specifically targeted, of course, for Mowgli.
Yep.
We know that player, the capabilities he has, and just how good that operator is. But if Finka's not there, Iana is always going to be that second choice. Or a Nook as well is also the other option, like you mentioned.
It's nice to see how confident Heroic are moving here. They're looking to peak on pretty much everything. We've got people all over the map that have been at a window at one point or another, and they're just testing their luck at the moment to see if there's anybody that can be caught off guard. But fortunately for them, they have all been able to rotate back down into the site. So with the knowledge for Wolves there that everything's going to be clear, we're going to kick things off with a great nade kill. Look at Mowgli doing what he does best, picks himself up too, and makes it look like it's nothing. Pops that mirror window, removes a little bit of safety inside of Laundry, and now Heroic have to try and fight back. They need to regain a bit of control there inside of Bunker.
Gorgon trying to get something back, but he will be punished from the player outside of Barrels, and this has not worked well for Heroic. Severe lack of control onto that bunker, and it's just allowed Wolves to slip in. Bibu now attacking, two of them line up. Onto long corridor, Gorgona stuck now. A Hell in a Cell battle for himself, finds one, but will be trained out by P4, hitting the backside in towards Freezer. Ollie, a severe lack of detail from Heroic, as they just could not hold that blue bunker. As soon as they lost that one man behind the shield, it was over.
Great burn from Wolves to come through. There was a couple of ADSs played up inside of that bunker corridor as well. Obviously, you're not anticipating the nade to come through potentially at that time, but you've maybe got a question. Why were Heroic playing that so far pushed up? They should have been a little bit further back at that point.
So obviously we've seen Heroic playing with the mirror, okay? And generally, the typical thing is you put one mirror where Sloth is putting one right now, and you also put the second one inside of E-Box, which is what the WOL Grizzly has just reinforced. And typically you would apply the mirror window, then that shuts down anyone coming from bunker. As you've seen from Heroic, they put 2 mirror windows defending a Laundry Freezer take, the other one looking in towards Freezer, and that just completely shuts down, you know, the stronghold that you can have, that kind of partnership that the player behind a mirror window inside of E-Box can have with a player inside of Elbow. So you're kind of leaving that man in Elbow left for dead, essentially, and as soon as he's gone, nobody is there to kind of deny it. Because the whole thing about a mirror window being an E-Box is you cannot take Elbow until you take E-Box. To take E-Box, you need to take Meeting. To take Meeting, you need to take the entire map control, make sure there's no roamers. So just having that one mirror window there sets off a chain of events that Wolves need to go for. Wolves were very minimalistic in that take. They had big tower into Meeting, and that was it. That was the only upstairs presence they had. They had nobody kind of kicking in, roam clearing towards small tower into kitchen, and there was a bit of presence. We've seen there was a bit of setup from Heroic, but it just was ignored. And I think just having a mirror window perhaps change for Heroic will force then Wolves to go for this massive hunt.
P4 is about to pull the trigger and get himself in upstairs. He's obviously just waiting for the right time to strike. Wubble there just going to give Mowgli away as he tries to advance through into kitchen. P4's actually got himself straight in upstairs and can now look to try and pinch out. I don't believe we've got any players up there for the moment for Heroic, but there certainly was toward the start of that round. Again, forcing these Heroic players back down onto site. Everybody on the basement with around 2 minutes of the round remaining. It's fairly effective clearing that by Wolves. Heroic, they're not even wanting to take a gunfight out there, Demo.
No, I think they just want to keep everyone alive, and that's the general gist that we see with Basement is just numbers. Whoever has the most numbers as you go in for that final execute on Basement will usually win the round. So if it's going to be an even split, 5v5, then it's up in the air. Whoever catches the stray ball catches it. It is interesting to see Wolves change up their idea. They had an easy time going in towards blue. Like I mentioned, that mirror window was not set up inside of E-Box. And now they're looking to actually challenge onto the mirror windows coming in from Laundry Freezer. I think Shinka, did he get it? He did. Brilliant timing. Just about gets the canister. So that is that mirror window gone inside of Freezer. It will alleviate the pressure for whatever player wants to sneak his way in there. However, they do still have a stray Mowgli. He's out by himself towards blue right now, so I'm not really sure what Wolves is going for. A bit all over the place here, Ollie.
Yeah, they haven't got that same level of coordination. Mowgli's discovered that ADS there that's going to be blocking him from the nade that he used previously.
I love this about
with this hatch open, it's now going to make things a lot easier for Bibu to find out Gorgona. Catches him there just outside of Harry Potter. So now can see he's getting ready to stun out the player that he knows to be on the double door. P4 prowling inside of that freezer as well. Benja, full white flash. Not a lot he can do apart from hug the corner. He's going to get pre-fired out of there by Rise. Grizzly battles back, as does Sloth. Leveling things up briefly for a time. The C4 will fly, but it will not connect. Bibu still searching, seeing if there's anybody that he can find out of place. But Heroic, they don't really need to move here, Demo. They've really dug themselves in, and they're just going to look to hold crossfires and keep one another alive. Player inside of blue, potentially going for that rotation. Mowgli shuts Sloth down. Does he know that someone's in Laundry? The answer, no. 1 versus 1. Grizzly going to pick up their final 2 kills there. Great little rotation.
Just has to back away. Easy pre-fire, knows that Bibu has to chase that kill. Well, Wolves, a little bit more random, I would say, in terms of where they had players. So they start things off, it looks as if they're trying to eye up Laundry Freezer. You know, they eliminate a mirror window, which would kind of lead you to believe that, hey, we can just simply walk down into Freezer, gain that control. But I think it was maybe the call saying, oh, I got that mirror window specifically just for P4. That's what it felt like. It was specifically for that player to make that solo play down that side of the map. He got picked off. He didn't have the same impact that you probably would want to have. If you think about how, you know, the fundamentals of Basement is, it's all around the laundry room, isn't it? It's all that's the main rotation that the defenders want to get themselves backed up into. You know, if you're starting to get pressured inside supply, you can fall back for the rotates into laundry, swing onto highway if you want to. If there's a player in freezer, you can't do that anymore. That shuts down any case of maneuverability. So you're basically trying to trap all the defenders in that one little area inside of the small box. That's where you want to keep them. And if you lose that player in freezer, then, you know, that entire movement, we've seen Grizzly was able to walk back, had that freedom, had that space. Because that's where WOL's kind of missed out on, is they did lose that one player. You know, if he does go and he gets that kill, he has that freezer control, that's a different round. But you're banking in one player making a big move.
Again, it comes down to that 1 versus 1. He's got the advantage with the mirror window being open, but equally, that's going to work both ways, and it's another opportunity to utilise a little bit of info, potentially, that Heroic had kicking around there. Not going to see the old Aruni this time. It was a mainstay in the first 2 rounds, an attempt for Wolves to gain some control very quickly off the back of either early droning or pre-placed drones. No need this time, as that site is going to be on the top floor anyway. So, hopefully know where a lot of the players are going to be, and equally they're going to know the setup that they're going to start to approach into. One hard breacher being brought, no secondary hard breach gadget, does make things somewhat trickier. You've really got to decide and commit to where you want this push to come through.
See the Azami coming into play. Being able to block up some of those doorways, almost, you know, acting as a bit of a sound cue almost, because, you know, if someone starts punching at, oh, there's somebody there, like a castle barricade in a sense. You know, Azami does fit quite a few different operators in terms of, you know, fundamentals off it, you know, very similar to Shield, for example, will soak up an explosion, castle barricades, you can punch them, a bunch of different stuff.
Shinka just put a huge amount of damage in onto Uno, a little bit of a cheeky wall bang. Uno did manage to dodge out before it dealt the finishing blow, but it's took him to below 50% health. Grizzly will be playing inside of security. He's going to have a lot of attackers in and around the area. Benja is going to be there as well, but the Azami Kiba that he placed a little bit earlier on is going to prohibit any sort of rotation that he could make.
Very, very good point as well. They work both ways. Not only can you stop the defenders or the attackers getting in, but the defenders can't get out. So him being able to try and support that player who's playing inside security, it's not going to be there. However, we do see the rotate from Benja, but Mowgli has found 2 kills. Probably the player that you did not want to see show up if you're Heroic is going to be Mowgli, and he's still alive and kicking Ollie. A quad kill out of nowhere. Mowgli just strolled in. He's killed everyone. And look at Wolves straight in for the plant. They know that Mowgli is in sight, and it's an instinct from Wolves. If he's in getting the kills, you get that plant down. Let him do the rest.
He's only got 1 more kill to find to pick up that ace, and he knows exactly where the player is. But look at this for Patience, picking his time to strike. Deals a chunk of damage over onto Grizzly, and still doesn't really need to thirst after that kill, but he's going to anyway. Plenty of teammates alive. No need to fear. Mowgli, what a round.
Just what a pickup. You know, we said it last stage, and he's so mechanically gifted. I suppose one question mark that we did have over Mowgli is it's either Mowgli's there or Mowgli's not. You know, very hot and cold. I mean, we did see that at the Major. Let's not forget, you know, we've seen Mowgli have an excellent game, but then the next game he was gone. He wasn't there. And that was always a worry that we had with Mowgli, is his consistency. We know he can do these crazy things. He's called the magician for a reason, and we're getting a front row seat right now for the show. But sometimes you'd buy that ticket and you'd be thinking, what is this? It's no magician.
Just some dodgy sort of card.
Who is this? That's a clown. That's not a magician.
I think it was always about whether he could translate his performance. So anyone can, well, not anybody, but a mechanically gifted player can go around and pick up a load of kills. However, it's making that work in conjunction with the rest of the team. What we saw in that last round, the speed at which Shinka pushed on in after those first couple of kills went down, the plant was immediately there. His whole team was committed to that. And it really works out well when you've got that go button that you can just press and go. A couple of kills, bang, straight in and getting the plant down. Beautiful job from him. 8 and 2 so far, and we're only at round number 4. Plenty of time for that number to increase somewhat. Heroic, they're going to try something a little bit different here. And they're going to be rocking the Clash pick. Obviously feeling like they need to try and slow down this push somewhat.
Mowgli almost adds on another kill to his tally. Almost gets that kill on the sloth, takes a hefty amount of damage. But yeah, the Clash, staple pick for Heroic, always has been. You know, since their time in Challenger League, we always knew that a Clash in Oregon is a signature operator, one that we always see, and it just helps them control the map a lot better. If you think about Oregon, there is a lot of corridors that you can just shut down. You know, there's doorways you can just block up, because generally, if you look at Oregon, most of the entrances is going to be in free doorways. You know, you're not dealing with any outside walls compared to a map like Clubhouse, for example. All of it's going to be contained inside.
Grizzly known for being one of the best that's done it on the Clash as well. Clash or Monty, pick your poison, put a shield in his hands, and he can be a nightmare. Wolves have slowed down somewhat here. They did manage to get that early pickup onto Benja. Benja, of course, playing very aggressively in and around that main door, attempting the C4 onto Mowgli. And I bet he wished it hit because Mowgli is striking back. He's just snagged himself a vert nade kill there, making full use of that utility from below. Gorgona's still going to be playing upstairs, and P4 has some drone information. That drone is gathering a lot at the moment. Not only is it giving away that, but it's also telling them where the Clash is as well. P4 going to push in off the back of it, immediately greeted by the Clash. Hits him with the melee, tries to get a little bit of chip damage in. Hits him with the 360, gets sat down, P4. Heroic, they might just not be having enough to get themselves back into this, as Grizzly has got to battle from
above. Has a shotgun.
He has only got the shotty, and there is a whole minute left remaining. He's getting peppered through the hatch and will finally be sat down.
It's a bit messy, but I have to give credit. Grizzly's frozen. We're seeing a wall from Uno.
Grizzly's frozen in time. We've got an upside down view from Uno, and the rest are photos, so we can't glean all too much info from them. They've got stern poker faces on at the minute. However, back downstairs we go. Heroic still struggling to find consistent form here on the defense, and it's going to start to hurt them. We're entering round 5 now. You don't really want to be letting too many rounds slip here on this opening half of Oregon. So, what they're employing? They are going to employ something like the Goyo.
We did see this in the first round.
We did. Goyo is fantastic for really denying that area. You get those hot pockets that you can put down, and you can just stop people from being able to make that push through. Another bit of a switch up that we're seeing, we're actually seeing the Zero demo. Now, I quite like that in terms of gathering a little bit more information. It's something that we've seen Wolves, whilst they've come away with a couple of rounds down here, they have been scrappy rounds, and they've not always known exactly what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, Zero is an interesting one. I don't think it would be, you know, as consistent of a force compared to other operators in the game. You know, it's still on the low side of operator usage. We would see the Zero, but he does come in quite handy. Decent gun, can certainly frag with it, but obviously the cameras is the main thing for them. We can set them as kind of soft flank protection. You can use them just to gain some information wherever it is. Of course, they go in through ceilings up. You know, wherever it is, they can go through walls. So it does give you that information early on. Speaking of early on, Heroic have went with a very aggressive stance right now. They've tried to deny the access coming in from the shower side of things for Wolves. They did lose the first player. I believe that was an engagement onto the top of White Stairs, but they still do have a bit of a presence inside a kitchen and inside of security. This is a battle as old as time. We see this happen all the time, and it is very difficult if you're an entry to actually assault onto these players, because you're dealt with a 50-50. It's either you look at security or you look onto the freezer stairs. So that it's a bit of a nasty crossfire you have to go for. I'm happy to see that Wolves, they took the time to sledge open above. You know, you have the sledge, you have the time, you know nobody else is going to be upstairs, and that just makes it so much easier. You're not having to risk a 50-50 gunfight, and you still get the same value. You're still clearing out that part of the map, which is where you want to get the hatches open, you want to stem your attack from.
It's mission accomplished there, almost for both sides as well, because Wolves are a lot further behind the clock this time. They were at this point at around the 2-minute mark previously. Now they're at this point at around the 1-minute 25 mark as time continues to tick. So they're not quite as far ahead as they might like to be, and especially with things like the Goyo, that is going to start to slow things down. Now Shinka, he's going to be positioning himself there on top of the laundry hatch, the diffuser ready to be juggled around as it needs to be. Obviously, we do still have the small matter of the mirror windows. I'm not sure if they've been dealt with entirely. We do see P4 sneaking through now, just looking to try and get rid of as much utility as possible. He'll lose the drone there, but he'll be fairly happy with that exchange. Yeah,
and that's the Goyo canister inside a freezer, so Mowgli and Bibu, that's something that they don't have to worry about now, and that certainly would have cost at least 20 seconds or so of Wolves' time. So that is unfortunate to see Heroic lose that utility very early on.
Look at the amount of information now that can be gathered as well by those Argus cameras. We're going to see the drop as it comes through. Kills flying left and right. The mirror window still intact. It's making things difficult for P4 here to find exactly what he needs to be. He'll go for the bash on the mirror window, but Uno gets the sound cue. Sloth with the swing. Bibu, he's been allowed to move his way all the way in through Freezer. He knows where the diffuser is. He also knows where some of the players are. Behind the mirror window is where Sloth lies, and he will pick up the final kill.
Another scrappy round for Heroic. How are they in this? I have no idea. I thought that execute was great from Wolves. They had everything working for them. But it just came down to, I think, Uno having such good time. And as soon as that punch, like you mentioned, the sound cue, he's on it straight away. I don't know if the Twitch was going for a bait. I don't know if it was just bad time, if it was just siege timing.
Siege timing.
You have no idea, but that was the ultimate kill that decided how that round went.
Something in that round that worked almost better for Heroic than it did for Wolves with the smoke grenades. Those smokes cut off a lot of sight for the attackers as they pushed in, and you almost found players just in and around a cloud of smoke, and they didn't really have all too much else to go on at that point. When that's happening, it's as good for the defenders as it is for the attackers because they don't have to move. The defenders can just sit back and wait to see what they are presented with.
And I always look at Laundry Freezer, and I just don't think it has a good success rate. Whenever I see Laundry Freezer, it just doesn't work.
Should we start dropping E-Box instead?
It doesn't matter what region it is. I just do not prefer that attack. I just think that we see more of a success of getting plants down via the E-Box avenue. Sure, we may see those rounds just kind of fail immediately because it is difficult to take control of blue, take control of pillar. That's the kind of, I'd say, pros and cons of going for these two attacks is Freezer Laundry, easy to take control of, but a very difficult execute, whereas Pillar and Blue, difficult to take control of, but an easier execute, mostly because you have that kind of blind spot that you can plant in, can't you? You can plant behind those boxes inside a supply, whereas Laundry, you don't really have that safety net because you are so close to defenders in many instances.
Top floor we go. Heroic looking to level things up here to an equal 3-3 split. Mowgli straight on in. Removes the Banshee, the sound cue given away now. Likely knows that he's going to be met with a couple of players here.
That's why my disc did not last long. 4 of them gone.
Minus utility for the defenders. It's going to be a hail of flashes almost certainly coming through, followed with a couple of nades in toward that trophy room as well. But we do see Heroic, they have dropped themselves back off. Plenty of drone work going on here for Wolves. They've taken that early bit of control. They've got Mowgli working in a very crucial area there. He too can now jump in to see if there's anything else that he can glean. P4 rapidly searching out for any utility he can find. He'll take repositioning Uno as well, given that there isn't much knocking around.
So Wolves going with a very generic attack. You have control of trophy now. You can get that main wall open, which I think they have done. But the question comes down to what are they going to do next? You cannot just push from this one side of the map. It will not work because you're just attacking from one side, and Heroic can just hold the line. They can stop anything from happening. You need to put pressure on defenders from another avenue. That could be out white stairs. That could be via double window. Generically, it is going to be free attic. That's where we see most teams kind of divert to. You can see Bibu, as of course the ace, can open up that wall quite easily and can start making a bit of a headway moving in towards that attic. But they also do have somebody in double window, so they're hitting them from multiple ways right now. But Heroic have not lost anyone. That's probably where we're at right now, is they have not lost any players. I say that though, Sloth will get downed.
Benja, he's going to find the first confirmed kill over onto Mowgli. It will be traded almost instantly as they do start now to fly. Wolves, though, they are falling. Grizzly did attempt a little bit of a flank up Laundry and has since shifted and seen success elsewhere. Kills now continuing. Sloth will be finished off from the grave, and Shinka looking to try and get that plant down under the cover of Rise. He will be taken out, however, Rise left with no other option but to try and hop himself on in. He knows that there's going to be somebody here at the top of these white stairs, but they've since rotated off. There is potential to try and hold this from below. Rise doesn't have the fortune of time to find a better plant spot, and he's just going to have to go with whatever he can. Time ticking, Gorgona with a swing, and a nice clean round for Heroic. Leveling things up here, Demo and Oregon, 3 rounds apiece.
Another close one. I mean, the setup from Wolves early on, crystal clear, easy enough to do, but I just think they were lacking a few picks in between that. I think they had to open up the bomb site a bit more. I think Heroic probably realized that there's too many of us in sight. That's why we've seen these rotates. I think Grizzly did get one on the flank, which, again, you have to question, how is Grizzly allowed to get those flanks off? Probably because nobody had died for Wolves, so nobody could sit in the flank camp for Bibu. That was probably the main issue that I think they suffered there. And then it comes into that 2v2, but you look at the plant positioning that Wolves tried to go for. That's not going to work. With Rise in the double window, he cannot watch two angles at once. He either has to watch the attic rotate or he has to watch white stairs. He cannot do both. That was just a poor plant attempt. Whereas realistically, I think if you are carrying the diffuser and you know your other player's in double window, it's either you ask him to get in or you try and plant beside the bunk beds. So that double window can cover off every angle and you cannot be seen.
Round number 7, as it is presented to us. Downstairs we go. It's a slightly different lineup to what we saw Heroic run demo. Heroic were really sort of invested in this Goyo, in the sort of smoke, and the way that they were trying to really slow the roll and slow the approach there. We've still got the smoke for Wolves, but instead we've got a couple of off picks in terms of the Thorn and the Azami now. Both are perfectly viable, but it does speak to a very different way of holding things down here.
Yeah, personal preference pick, I think, from Rise. You know, we've seen him have good success with this operator in the last Playday. You know, also we have to keep mentioning about Rise went 0-12, and then what he's been able to do is...
He's never going to shake that 0-12, is he? He's never going to shake it.
It's very, very scary that he's been able to have that shift in confidence. So certainly an operator that he just likes playing, and, you know, we've seen, you know, we sit there and we talk about, oh, people really like Finky. You know, why can he not have a favorite? You know, if Thorn's his favorite, let him have a favorite. Everyone has a favorite operator.
You've got a bit of a soft spot for Thorn anyway. I think you're a little bit of a Thorn main back in the day when it first came out.
I know.
The Monty for Grizzly. And of course, we mentioned how he isn't afraid to get a shield in his hand and do some of that brunt, less glamorous work. He certainly made it look glamorous on the Clash and picked himself up a kill. Less chance of that happening on the Monty, but equally he's going to be able to gather information. And he's going to act as that human drone that can just move on through slowly but surely, calling out utility and making sure that the path is clear for his team.
So Heroic going with a very minimalistic take, only interested in big tower and meeting at the moment. No real vigor to push in towards small tower and do that full sweep, that full clear. I think Wolves, you know, we've seen them do that plenty of times. Heroic obviously are going to be aware that there will be roamers upstairs. You know, there's going to be players still lurking inside a kitchen because it's a part of the map that they are not really interested in. So if they're not looking to take control of it, they're happy enough to let them sit back. And I think they'll just try and hold it with just at least one player on drones at all time. You can see Sloth at the moment is going to be on the cams. So as long as you're keeping tabs in these potential roamers, Heroic can still slowly but surely make a bit of headway on Pillar.
Grizzly's got himself quite deep there and is in fact going to have to back himself off. The path isn't entirely clear for his teammates to rotate down with him. BB going to be delivered a huge chunk of damage there as the nades do start to fly. Grizzly can call that out, and this is how pressurizing Grizzly can be with a shield in his hand. He's just not afraid to continually walk toward you. The problem is his teammates are losing gunfights left and right, and very quickly he is going to be down as well. Uno in the heart of the site will be finished off. He had the diffuser in hand, but it really doesn't matter at that point. Wolves were happy just to wait, hang back and pick up those kills.
There is a clear difference right now with how Heroic have carried out that attack compared to how Wolves carried out pretty much the exact same attack. And that was, there was nobody pressuring from blue. That was the difference there for Heroic. Did you see Mowgli being able just to shift in and out of blue, swinging onto the E-box, swinging onto Shaiko door? Because they allowed him to do that, because nobody was interested to going outside of barrels, which I'm pretty sure Mowgli, he played that position, didn't he? He was outside.
He didn't know his look. Mowgli didn't know his look in that round. He even peeked barrels just as a face check, just being like, where are they? I'm desperate to shoot at something.
That's the difference, and it's similar to what I said about the upstairs. You need to have different approaches. Heroic just tried to go from one way and one way only. You know, at least Wolves, you know, they attempted somebody going down Freezer, which maybe didn't work in the end. But I think that you need somebody else going in towards blue. You need to put pressure onto that player in elbow, because Heroic will know as well as anyone else, if you are an elbow player in that position and you know that that double door has not been opened to blue, that's a free pass for you to start rotating on towards Shaiko door and start taking these swings because you know you're safe.
Upstairs we go. Another bit of a switch around in terms of operators here. Grizzly actually going to be opting for the Ossa this time, as opposed to the Monty shield. He's going to be bringing some more portable shields, I guess. And of course, you get the benefit of having a main gun in your hands as well. Aside from that, no real serious changes. Benja might be looking for a bit of a crouch walk in here. He's just going to entirely ignore that utility, but BB was waiting for him, Demo. That is a blunder.
It's a big play. big play that Benja's went for, and I mean, this is where I worry for Benja, because this game has not went well for him. He is 3-8. That is below standard for what we expect from Benja. And it just feels as if now he's forcing kills. He's trying too hard to get them. And we know if, you know, whenever you're in one of those ruts, the last thing you do is want to go chase. You just want to wait until it comes to you.
Mowgli just going to bait out one of those Rotero drones there. There wasn't a lot of time left for it. Sloth with the Gemini just trying to gather a little bit of information. As we're seeing Grizzly, he can go up to the wall and have a really good peek through that and figure out, yeah, can't really see all too much. No utilities to ping. A diffuser that is in a very kind position at the moment, but Grizzly's still taking a little bit of damage. It isn't quite a Monty shield, I'm afraid.
Still shoots legs, of course. Sloth. Ready. See if he can find something. We need somebody from Heroic to really step up. We haven't seen that at the moment from the Molly, whereas you look at Mowgli, 13 kills. You know, he's been the player that stepped up and single-handedly was winning rounds for his side. We need somebody to do that now for Heroic.
I love the use of the Kiba there. We can just see that Bibu is constantly filling the holes that are being opened. He's just plugging the gaps as he knows that the nades are going to start to come through soon. He's still got 2 ADSs there as well, so it's going to be fairly safe. We've got Mowgli with the swing there, just trying to dish out a little bit of damage. He's going to change tact. He's instead going to go right up to the breach and see if there's anybody that he can peek out onto here. Does have the SMG in hand, so needs to be cautious at this moment in time. Gorgona looking to try and push down, but he too will be taken out. Bibu is seeing a fantastic round, and eventually he will be put to his end. Mowgli picks up 2 with the shotgun demo. How has he managed to get away with that? One of them Grizzly, one of them Sloth. P4 from below is still going to have a part to say in this round, as Uno is the sole survivor. Going to try and rotate his way through Attic. 20 seconds on the clock. 3 kills to find. It's a bit of a tall order here.
It is. Now moving across, and immediately the swing is there. Mowgli just tearing them apart. Just does it for fun, Ollie. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Very impressive from Wolves again, holding firm. Bibu, that opening kill was so important. You know, we talk about Oregon, it's a middle map, and it just really does come down to gun skill at the end of the day. Strategies aren't flashy, they're not crazy. It's just fundamentals, and winning ones is a fundamental, is getting those opening kills and opening deaths. And yeah, it just comes back again to the point where we're seeing somebody step up from Wolves, but nobody is stepping up from Heroic.
There was a huge utility exchange in that round as well, and those 2 nades that Benja died with in pocket would have gone a long way to assist in that. There was also a bit of a lack of another dimension to the push. We didn't see anyone on big window. I'm not saying it's the answer, but big window and white stairs cannot be ignored. Kids Rappel cannot be ignored. When we see players and teams just really funneling through that trophy and that master bedroom side, it can become very easy as a defender to just turn you back on the rest of the site.
It did feel as if there was a good minute where Heroic were just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Whenever I think Grizzly was like peeking the breach with his shield, it just felt as if nothing was happening. Like for a good minute. It just about took them till, I think, what, minute 15 to finally get Attic open, for goodness sake. That's before you even droned it, before you even got people rotated around to try and take Attic. You know, they were trying to go for their executes without really any control at, what, 30 seconds? You know, they're rushing things. They didn't check. P4 was below. Whoever, I think it was... I forget who it was. Whoever the first person was that died in Attic, he got killed from P4, who was playing underneath the hatch inside of meat, and stuff like that should be checked. That's common knowledge. That should be something that should be droned out. The basics. We talked about it.
We do talk about it. We do always like to come back to the fundamentals because they are fundamentals for a reason, and they put you in a very good stead. Something like information and droning and stuff, it's just all so important. And especially when the margins are as fine as they are on a map like Oregon. Benja, slightly slower approach this time.
Oh, he sees him.
This is the effectiveness of droning as well. That is a handful of pixels that are a different color.
Yep.
We get the benefit of a glaringly obvious red outline. But believe me, in-game, that is very, very subtle.
Oh, he's going to do it via nade as well.
This is going to be beautiful stuff. Oh, it's too deep.
No, it went through the barricade, I'm pretty sure. I think he wanted just to bounce it.
There we go.
He went through a little bit too far to the left. He wanted to bounce it off it.
I mean, P4's in a position there, he daren't move, because as soon as he moves, he feels like he's getting shot anyway, so it's just, whatever, you've got me.
You wasted an 8, but still, you get the kill. Mowgli, though, again, still always on the scoreboard, will find Sloth.
Look at a great view of that as well, as Uno was popping himself into cams, and we just see Sloth just falling right in front of him. Mowgli Just never done there. Nade, they're going to get eaten up. It's not going to cause him too much damage or worry. ADS is doing their job as well.
No nades left.
Love that Keeper barrier that's blocking up the breach now as well. All of these problems for Heroic. It feels like Wolves have got such a good game plan in how they are going to use this utility.
Yeah.
They are just throwing those Keeper barricades out for fun.
10 minutes to go. Still a C4 that Wolves has. And just look at him. Ollie! He's got 18 kills. We thought Usus was good earlier on.
It's almost like he can't do anything wrong. Gorgona's finally going to put an end to him there with a nice swing. Rise sees a lot of pressure inside of Kids and will 2-fall. Things looking better for Heroic here as they now have control of the hatch and Benja can pick up Shinka. Benja, he's turned online in this round. We've been waiting for it for quite some time, but when his team needs him, he has shown up. Bibu, C4, 30 seconds left. Plenty of drone time available for Heroic. They're going to take that to search him out. Found out to be inside of the kitchen. Sledge can continue to open up this floor and make things a little bit difficult. Goes for a C4 toss, but likely won't explode it. And even if he does, it isn't going to deal any damage. Bibu left with no option but to vacate the site. He has to give that control away. And both players here for Heroic have dropped off. They know that he hasn't got a C4, so they know the only threat is him pushing through. And Benja can hold that all day long.
That's where I think Bibu should not have used that C4. Imagine if he had the C4 in that scenario. That's 2 kills all day of the week, unless, well I wouldn't put it past Benja actually to not shoot it out of the air, to be fair.
But you've also got to give them the benefit of the doubt that if they didn't hear the C4 go off, would both of them have dropped?
I mean, where else would they have went? Because they didn't have a lot of time to even rotate.
One player would drop and then use the sledge holes from above.
True.
You can't call it, but I think that Heroic played it exceptionally well, knowing what they knew at that time. He's used his C4, he's got an SMG, we're going to push it. You know, we're going to get the plant down, we're going to make him push us. And Benji's like, I can take that gunfight. I've not had the best of games, but I've
got a quad
in that round.
I
just got 4 kills in 1 round, boys. I've done my best there. I've got us back to within 1 round of Wolves, and that is the most important point.
We need it. We need this from Heroic. We needed somebody to step up. But again, it's still, it wasn't the cleanest of rounds from Heroic. They wasted a lot of time clearing upstairs. They did have to rely on Benja, running through things. I think there's a big difference between being in a 5v5 and then seeing somebody get an ace than being in like a 2v5 and then seeing somebody get an ace. Because you were put in that position where you needed somebody to clutch. Whereas if you look at the ace really for Mowgli, it wasn't a clutch. It was just him getting kills. There's a difference.
Yeah, most players in the lobby could have got those kills. It just so happened that Mowgli was there at the right place at the right time for all of them.
Right place, right time.
Wasn't in the right place at the right time. Benja, man, you've just had a cracking round. You had a really bad round 8. You had a great round 9, and then round 10, you do the same thing you did in round number 8. Flying in through a window, getting yourself first in, and giving yourself away.
It's the risk of Amaru. I understand that Amaru is used just to gain early control of Big Tower because it's very easy to do so. But other than that, she doesn't really bring a lot to the table. And it is also, I think, very strange still to see it on basement. But then again, I do get why it's not a bad pick if you know you're attacking basement, because generally, Heroic will stem all of their attacks from Big Tower. So gaining early control of that is going to be valuable.
It's something that Wolves did repeatedly. They often Amaru'd into Big Tower to get that early control.
It's becoming common.
I like it. I think it's a great move.
A few times.
I think it's better than Amaru'd into a full site of people waiting to shoot at you. It's much better to just gain early control and gain that nice vantage point and cut off the rotations and restrict the amount of time that the defenders have got to work with. In that case, it didn't work out, and P4 obviously heard that audio cue, knew what was coming, had some sort of clairvoyance, and was happy to sit around and pick up the frag. It's going to put you in a great position as well if you are Wolves now that you're not concerned. You've got 1 less man for that push when it all comes down to it. You're going to be a little bit light somewhere, whether that is inside a freezer, whether that is inside a laundry.
Did you see that, by the way? The foreign gadget destroyed a Habana pellet?
Razor Bloom, yeah.
That's something you don't see every day. Have you noticed as well at Heroic, they're almost tiptoeing around Big Tower. They're not really looking to enter in towards Big Tower, mostly because I think they lost the Amaru, but the fact that Rises gave himself up, I think also then just gives Heroic, hey, we got that kill, now we can take meat, now we can take Big Tower.
It's just been neutralised there, hasn't it? I think there was a hesitance from Heroic to push in. And they played it well because there was no real need for Rise to be there at that moment in time. And Gorg's played that one fantastically. Just a little bit of patience does go a long way. Wolves going to start getting pressured in on the site now. No Twitch from Heroic. Twitch is something that we saw Wolves running pretty much every single round.
But they do have Habana, though, which is a good, good taker for those mirror windows.
A little bit risky because you've got to at least expose yourself line of sight-wise to get those Xkaros pellets on. But still, it is something that can be done. That seems to be what Uno could be going for here. There's, of course, the risk that they do get shot off as well. Somebody like P4 hiding there inside
but now they know he's here.
Cubby. It is going to give the game slightly away. Gorgona, he's gained great ground there inside of Freezer. You can see that the players for Wolves are fairly well tucked in. And the kills are going to start now to fly. There's 3 seconds left, Demo. This is scrappy as you like. And who else but Mowgli to come out smelling of roses after a mess like that?
I'm telling you, Laundry Freezers are just so messy, and it just doesn't work for the attacks. It's just not good. I just don't like them. Agree with me or disagree? Phone up. Let us know. Call in. Number will be flashed upon your screen. What's your number again, Ollie?
We're going to take this because we want to compose ourselves before we now enter the match point. Because Wolves,
chances here.
Well, Wolves recognise they don't want to have to use both of those chances. They can't leave anything up to chance. They need to make sure that they come away with the game at their earliest opportunity. Because as soon as you let something slip, we all know how Siege goes. All it takes is for one player to suffer some Siege timing, and the round is just entirely turned on its head. So they've composed themselves ahead of what could be the final round here tonight. Heroic versus Wolves. Wolves 6 rounds to 4. We are seeing, Demo, a little bit of Ying action. Not afraid of a bit of Ying. I think it's a good choice for Heroic because we have seen them stall out, and I think that that could really help with that stall out.
It's usually seen as whenever the tough get going, you bring in those kind of operators that will just create chaos, bring something new to the field. Because obviously, as a defender, Ying, you have to counterplay that. You know, you have to tiptoe around a Ying. To be fair, there isn't much counterplay you can do because you're going to get blinded. You just can't close your eyes. I wish I could close my eyes, but sadly we can't do that.
Certainly not after the round started. You know, the only counterplay is a Warden, and you can't pick that after the fact. So you are really just going to be at the mercy of wherever the Ying decides to play those Candelas.
How do you play against the Ying? Just close your eyes, bro.
Close your eyes.
It's that easy.
Blink. The mirror window setup down there with P4 was quite choice. They placed one of the Kiba barriers there to try and keep it alive a little bit. Mowgli already itching to get into the action every time. He just can't help himself, can he, Demo?
Oh, well, he helped himself too much, as Gorg will find him. Just sprays through the wall. I think he only seen his legs, but that's enough to give Gorg that indicator. One thing you have to say about Mowgli, and it's, yes, we know he's been phenomenal this game, but it still showcases that young player, that young instinct inside of him where he's done too much there. He didn't need to do that, but he done it, and he's been punished for it. That's still the weakness to have in a young player.
Ooh, Gorg, masterclass there. Did he get it? Oh, he didn't get it. He missed it. Only by a smaller margin, but it is still a missed shot.
This is tricky as well because they really don't have a great way of dealing with that mirror window. No Habana this time, remember, because they have brought in the Ying.
It's going to be much more difficult. Instead, you can choose to smoke it off and hit that mirror window, rendering it pretty much useless. Sloth finds himself full white as well as P4 scurries back to the somewhat safety of security. Rise at the bottom of white stairs are going to be the next player to fall. This is a much better take here from Heroic, but it eventually will be refragged. P4 shuts Sloth down. There is still damage that has been done, though. 2 players down here for Wolves. It is by no means ideal. Benja is just biding his time now. If he times this well, he could come away with a nice kill downstairs and really start to free things up here. Looks as though P4's gone for the full rotation, not taking any chances. He's going to get himself all the way up Armory. Got to deal with a bit of Kiba barrier nonsense on the way. As we can see, Bibu has been very busy in the site there.
He's locked it up. It's caged off. Nobody gets in without a pass. It's now Heroic. The question is, what are they going to do with this Ying? It looks to be just maybe Grizzly going to sit on Kid's window, but as we know, that's risky because all it takes is one player to rotate to Attic and then shoot him off it. So yeah, this is still going to be a bit hit or miss for Heroic. They just have to pray that Wolves don't go for that rotate. And oh, what a brilliant canister being placed at the top of white stairs. Benja's going to be locked out, and that could be crucial. Diffuser is being planted. P4 has no idea. Oh no, we'll find one. Benja then goes up white stairs. Bibu in the 1 versus 1. Oh, barely misses out on the kill against Uno. 3 seconds to go. He's going to push for the kill, but the Deagle hits hard. right into the chest, and Wolves will pick up all 3 points against a big opposition.
That game certainly delivered. Scrappy as you like, right up until the bitter end, all coming down to a 1 versus 1. You can see just exactly what that means to the players on Wolves. Everybody very happy with that one. P4 grinning in.